Hello, 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 hello. How are we all today? Oh, I've had a crazy morning, and if I look a little bit frazzled, it's because I had so much to do. I've been typing away like an absolute mad woman on my computer, been having meetings with people, been learning lots. I've been doing my bookkeeping, doing all sorts of bits and pieces. And then I was like, shit, I gotta do a webinar at 1 o'clock on a topic I don't know much about. Look, I haven't even cleaned my bed up. Shall I do this while we talk? I've got to make it look professional in here. Come on, people. Is that better? There you go. Nothing like doing things on the run. That's what I say. So I don't know who we've got on here. If you're on here, make sure you jump on and say hello so I know you're watching. And I'd love to know who we've got on and yeah, just so I know who I'm talking to. So welcome everybody and thank you for jumping on live to watch me talk about a topic that I'm just learning about myself, which is what I do every week. I should change the name of the what I do from webinar to what does Michelle know this week. So I love it actually. It makes me really, it pushes me out of my comfort zone and makes me learn about something that I'm not actually an expert in, because it's nice and easy to sit here and talk to you about stuff that I know heaps about. And that is great. And I have done that a few times, but it's even more fun to talk about something that I actually don't know much about. I do. I know a little bit. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing a webinar on it. Hello, Geeta. And but I wanted to share what I'm learning and let you know all the bits and pieces as I like straight out of the horse's mouth, basically. So today we're talking about what happens when we sleep. So before I get started, I just want to make sure everyone knows what's going on here. So we've got in front of me, we have my personal page, Michelle Saunderson. And over here, we've got my business page, Michelle Ann Soul Healer, and with an E. So if you're on either of those, I'll be able to comment. This is also being shared across to my Facebook group, Soul Junkies Connect. Make sure if you're not a part of that group to join in on that group. But if you're watching it from Soul Junkies today, I can't actually see your comments. So I can post later on, I can reply to your comments. But if you want to see the live version and be able to interact, make sure you either jump on my business page, Michelle Ann Soul here, or on my personal page. So hello, Kelly, hello, Geeta, and hello, everyone else that's watching. If you watch later, as we ask, make sure you put in a hashtag replay so I can see that you watched it after the fact. So, yes, we're here. We're talking about what happens when we sleep. Now, when we sleep, I wanted to go, obviously, if you know me even slightly, you'll know that I'm not up for the boring normal stuff. So I do want to talk a little bit about the normal stuff about what happens when we sleep, but then I want to go into a little bit more of the woo-woo stuff, the weird stuff that happens when we sleep. So hello, Roxy. I'll spend the start just going through what happens when we sleep because I think it's a really interesting topic, and I also feel it's something that a lot of people don't get enough of, and the reason why a lot of people function at a higher level than other people. So what I find is I am adamant about my sleep. I am an 8-hour person, 7 hours if I have to, but 8 hours is my usual go-to. 7 hours if I'm busy or got stuff on. Anything under 7, that's not enough for me. I don't like it. And I must admit, on 8 hours sleep, I function amazingly. I have heaps of energy. My brain, my function, my memory is really good. My weight and the way I metabolize my food is really good, and everything's going good. But you'll find what happens when you stop sleeping so well is other areas of your life start to fall away, and you can't quite put a finger on why it's happening, but it's usually happening because you do not have enough sleep. The other really good thing is I am an excellent sleeper. I feel it's genetic. My dad was a great sleeper. He was the type that would be able to lie down under a table at a party. So, you know, when you're a little kid and you'd go to these massive big barbecue parties, I'm not joking. I would find my dad asleep under the table like this, on the cement or the floor, wherever he was, people leaning over, like getting the food, and dad at a family gathering or whatever, he'd be asleep under the table. And I'm not joking. My sister Diane, if she gets on here, she'll vouch for this. Same with my brothers Alan and Andrew. It's a true fact. And I've got the sleep gene. I can sleep wherever, whenever I want. I shut my eyes and I'm asleep. My dad went into the big MRI scanner thing that you go in the big tunnel, and the nurse was trying to give him Valium and saying you'll need some sort of thing to calm you down before you go in there because people have panic attacks and it's really scary in there. My dad said, I won't need that stuff and I'm fine. She goes, well, she told him how to do deep breathing. He said, I won't need this stuff. Okay, so he fell asleep. Dad fell asleep in the MRI machine where it's so apparently loud and horrible that people have panic attacks. He also went to get his blood pressure taken or something one day, and he doesn't like needles, so he was quite hyped up by the fact that he had to go and get his needles. The doctor said, are you a bit hyped up? Dad goes, just hold on a second. He sat there like this and like put himself into like an instant sleep zone, and his blood pressure dropped from really high to really low. And the doctor's like, that's amazing. I can do it in the car. I was in Bali and came back from an amazing meditation through the streets of Bali, which are boom, boom, in this bus full of these girls that were all crazy, chatting and screaming and laughing. And I was asleep on the side of the bus with my head dunk, dunk, dunk on the window of the bus, sleeping. It's actually not a deep sleep. It doesn't have to be a deep sleep to get the effects of it. When you go into that first stage of sleep, which I'll talk about in a second, you get just as many benefits as you do when you go into that REM. You literally only need 20 minutes. I think it's 23 minutes is a set amount that you need that can refresh you. It's called a power nap. I did it yesterday. I just need to sleep 20 minutes. Bang, I'm up and I'm a new woman. So, yeah, sleep is underrated. You need it, a lot of it. And if you're not getting it, you're probably finding you have issues, which I'll talk about now. So I want to go through the physical side of sleeping, and then I'll go into the woo-woo stuff at the end. So basically I want to go through, and I found a really good article on this, different parts of the body and how sleep affects those parts of the body. So firstly, basically the eyes. So we've all heard of rapid eye movement, REM sleep. It's when our eyes go really quickly. It's up to 30 minutes at a time, and it repeats every 90 minutes during our sleep cycle. And that's where we do a lot of our dreaming. That's where all our dreaming happens, in our REM sleep. Our eyes moving intensely, but our bodies are really relaxed. It's when we're probably the most relaxed in our REM sleep. Now, sleep is so important. This is why we feel shit when we've not had enough of it, is that it gives our cerebral cortex, so that's the thinking part of our brain, it gives the cerebral cortex just a time to relax. It's like switches your brain off. And when it switches it off, it allows your brain to start regenerating and fixing neurons and immune systems and hormones and all sorts of stuff. And that's why when we don't have enough sleep, we feel irritated, we can't focus, we are just unable to cope. If you've got little kids, you'll know how important sleep is. I'll tell you what, I knew about it yesterday. My 6-year-old, oh my God, meltdown after meltdown after meltdown all day. Couldn't cope with a thing. It's because she hadn't had enough sleep. She had big bags under her eyes. This morning she slept in, she was like another child. Sleep is extremely important for children more than us adults. The children don't cope when they haven't had enough, as we know. So that's what happens with our eyes and our brain. Our mouth, actually the saliva in our mouth slows down the production of saliva, so that's why we always wake up with a dry mouth. Our heart rate and blood pressure drop significantly, not significantly, about 10%. So if you're having 7 to 8 hours a night rest, which is what the recommended hours per night rest is, you've got a much less chance of getting heart disease or anything to do with heart-related problems, because your blood pressure and your heart rate's dropping whilst you're sleeping. Really interesting. There was an actual study that found insomniacs had a 45% higher risk of heart attack. If you're not getting enough sleep, I highly recommend you start looking into things that you can do to be able to sleep. Quality of sleep can also disturb the ability of the immune system to fight off infection. Another big one, I very rarely get sick, and I think it's because I sleep for 8 hours, and not only do I sleep for 8 hours, I sleep really well for 8 hours. Recently, in the last couple of weeks, actually probably since the coronavirus, I've been waking up and restless from about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I think there's something energetic going on with that. But generally, I used to sleep through, I'd lie down and I would wake up 8 hours later not feeling like I hadn't moved. It's pretty cool. The sleep with your hormones, the sleep releases growth hormones, which boost muscle mass and repair cells and tissues. So it's always healing your body whilst you're sleeping. And this was really interesting. A good sleep lowers levels of ghrelin, which triggers appetite, and raises the level of leptin, which tells you your body is full. So basically, if you're sleeping really well, you're less likely to overeat, and you have a much more stable sort of blood sugars and levels. So you're going to be less likely to put weight on. Very interesting. Skin. So basically your skin becomes clearer when you sleep. And just before we go to sleep, our core body temperature also drops. So body temperature was a really interesting one for me, because who has had sleep and find they get too hot in the night and they wake up hot and they can't sleep? It's because you need a certain body temperature to be able to sleep. And what triggers sleep is a drop in body temperature. So I had a thing, I'm a police officer, so I had a thing come through from our wellness people one day about sleep. And it was really interesting. They said, if you have a hot shower before bed, you will sleep better because your body temperature is raised. And then by the time, obviously, you get out of the shower and get into bed, your body temperature is starting to drop. So it's like artificially telling your body that your body temperature, your core body temperature is dropping down, which is triggering sleep. So you'll often sleep better. You'll also sleep better when it's a cooler. You'll notice when it's cold outside and you're snuggled in your doona, you'll sleep so much better than if you're like overheated in your bed and you're hot. You toss, you turn, it's not conducive to sleep. You need to be cooler. Your body temperature needs to be cooler. And there's different stages of sleep, which I don't want to go into too much, but I will mention, because everyone's heard of REM, so the rapid eye movement, which is in our dream state when our eyes are like, mine are most of the day, and your breathing becomes rapid, irregular, and shallow. But although I say that, your body's in the most relaxed state when it's in REM. So your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, but it's where all you do your memory, the word consolidation. So it's when all your memories are being consolidated. So that's why when you wake up, you feel more focused and you have that ability to like cope with tasks. Roxy's saying she used to go to sleep at 8:30 p.m. every night and wake at 6. Perfect. I'm now going to sleep between 10 to 12. Now I'm waking up at 5 a.m. It does catch up. It says, I'm catching up with me now. I'm aware of it now. I need to go back to your own old routine. And you can do this for a while. I can maintain small levels of sleep for a little while, especially if you're healthy. But it does catch up to you eventually. It caught up to me last night. I went to bed at 8:30. Normally I'm 11, quarter past 11 sort of person. Yeah, we'll catch up with you. I will talk about also the more woo-woo stuff. If you're actually aligned in life and you're on purpose, you'll need less sleep. You'll find that if you are feeling depressed, anxious, going through your day, doing a job that you hate, coming back to a horrible home or whatever it is, that you will go to sleep really early. You wake up really late, like you've had heaps of sleep, but you still feel absolute shit. It's because you're not aligned. When you're aligned and you're living the life that you're meant to be living, and everything's, I keep using the word aligned, but everything is in alignment. So you're on purpose, you're living your passion and all that, you will find that you don't need as much sleep because you are on purpose. I'm making myself, I don't know what I'm doing here actually, I'm all twisted. Sorry, trying to dress myself online. Yes, so when you're aligned on purpose, you find, especially with passion, if you're doing something you're really passionate about, you can stay up to all hours of the night. And you're so excited by life that you might stay up to 11:30, 12, madly doing whatever you're passionate about, and you'll wake up at 5 with just as much enthusiasm to get on with your day because you've got something to look forward to in your day because you've found your passion and you've found your purpose. It's so important. Roxy, I wake up with so much energy now, though. Yes. So when you are aligned and you're following your soul, you'll wake up with more energy. But eventually, we are physical human beings, and yes, eventually, you will need to get some more sleep. The other thing I find, if you are aligned and you're doing what you're meant to be doing, is you're working like super hard during the day because you love what you're doing. Like I do all day on Fridays. I just love it. This is my work from home day. I get in and everything I love doing, and I go through till 11 o'clock at night. But when my head hits that pillow, because I have been on the go all day, but I'm doing something I'm purposeful and passionate about, I'm out. So the sleep is really, really good sleep. It's like bang, out. And people that have slept with me, like when I go away on my retreats, my friend Emily, she often sleeps in the other bed beside me. She's not a particularly good sleeper, and she says, Michelle, your head hits the pillow, and I'm 30 to a minute later, she can hear the heavy breathing. She goes, oh, there's Michelle's asleep. So yeah, it's really interesting. So there's all different stages of sleep. Look, I was going to go through them, but that's too boring. We don't want to talk about that sort of shit. I've done science degree. I'm actually interested in this, but you guys probably won't be as interested in sleep. But what I do want to talk about is your brain waves, because that is actually it's interesting because it links back into what we call a transcendental state, which is that trance-like state before, when we are just falling asleep, when we're dropping from being awake, like fully conscious, into that trance-like state. You know, where you're lying there and you're like in that in-between stage. That's when the woo-woo stuff happens. That's when the magic happens. And that's when we can have visions and we can get signs and symbols from the universe and things drop in. So that transcendental state is what I wanted to sort of more focus on, and it does have to do with your brain waves. So there's different brain waves. Like when you actually scan your brain, you'll find that you've probably heard these terms before, but you've never known what they've meant, and I always forget them. But beta waves are when we're fully awake, like fully conscious and going, yep, I'm here. I mean, so if you scan my brain now, I'd have beta waves. So they have the highest frequency and the lowest amplitude. Let's just ditch that. I don't even know what that means. It's got a high frequency. I know what frequency means. So we'll go, Kelly's are waking up at 3 a.m. every morning. Yeah, sometimes energetically things are going on that we are unaware of in the cosmos or the ether or humanity, or there's all weird stuff goes down. And they say there's a thing called a veil. So it's the connection between spirit world and physical world. And I have heard people say it's the thinnest. So it's so say they call it a veil. So say the distance between the physical world and the spiritual world is here during the day. So it's very hard for us to communicate with the spirit world. During like 3 or 4 in the morning is when that veil or that distance is the thinnest. So sometimes what happens is we wake up during that time, that 3, 4 o'clock mark, because the veil is thinnest and we're having connections and we're having communication with the spirit world. Sometimes I swear they wake me up quite regularly. Can't quite put your finger on why you're awake, but you know that you're in the middle of a really, really vivid and very much meaningful dream, and something's woken you up. And you're like, that's interesting. Something will happen, or you might thought you heard a noise, but I think it's spirit waking you up. So you remember the dream and remember what the message was for you. Sometimes I've had visits from spirits. It happens to me all the time, actually, in my dream. They come in my dream. And the interesting thing is I always seem to wake up in the middle of that dream. And the reason I wake up so as I get the message. Otherwise, if I kept sleeping, oh no, decline, we don't want that. Sorry, Kelly Reeves. Someone just rang in the middle of my live video. Kelly, don't ring in the middle of my live videos. So that's when the veil is thinnest, and that's when we'll get messages from spirit. So beta waves when we're awake. Alpha waves occur during wakefulness and periods of relaxation. So when we're into like that meditative state, when we're doing meditation, our brain waves will drop from beta to alpha. And then when we get really deep and we're just starting to fall asleep, they're called theta waves. And that's where we want to be in the theta brainwave state, is when we are in the spiritual realms. That's when we can connect with spirit. That's when we are in that state of in-betweenness, and our waves are that state that they can connect like this. I just picture it just connecting like this. So they're the slowest waves, and that's when you're in that deep sleep. So now what I wanted to focus on for this webinar, which is really interesting, is a gland in our body, which I'd never heard of. Well, I had heard of because I'd done a science degree. I'd heard of what this gland does physically, but I had no idea on the other side of what this gland can do. Now, this all came out when I got a book called, it was an audio book. I actually need to get the physical copy. I actually really want it because it was so interesting, but it was so science-based. I needed the hard copy to go back and read, and he had a lot of diagrams that he referred to. So it's by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's called Becoming Supernatural. I couldn't, well, it was in my ears, but I couldn't put it down. And it was so interesting. It was he's a scientist, and it's actually, and I've done a science degree, so it's a mix between the science and the spirituality, and he brings them together. So he backs up what he's saying with the spiritual side with the science. And he focuses very much on this gland in our body called the pineal gland. So the pineal gland is a little gland right in the back of our brain in between the two hemispheres. And it's an endocrine gland. So it's got to do with supporting and um, moderating our hormones. So it produces and secretes the hormone melatonin, which a lot of us have probably heard about. So melatonin is that hormone or that drug that's released to signal our sleep. So, and it regulates our biological rhythms, such as our sleep and awake cycles. So when it gets dark, our pineal gland starts to release more melatonin, which signals our body that it's time to sleep, to change your brain waves and drop into that sleep. So it's triggered by light and darkness. But there's a really cool thing about the pineal gland, and it's got a spiritual side to it, which I had no idea. And it sort of makes sense, because if it's the gland that triggers us to sleep and go into that the brain waves change and go into that transcendental state between wake and asleep, which is when we can connect with spirit, it makes sense that the gland has some sort of spiritual thing going on. It's actually a little bit hard to explain, so I'm going to read this. But so the common perception is that the pineal gland is an evolutionary leftover, just like the appendix. But contrary to Western science and medicine, the pineal gland is the master gland. It is known as your third eye, or your seat of your soul, or clairvoyance. And so the power to see objects or things that can't be perceived by the senses. So it's allowing you to communicate with spirit and in other dimensions. So it's I'll call it the woo-woo gland. It's such an interesting little gland. His whole book is based around the pineal gland, which is this tiny little pea-sized, actually it's probably smaller, in the back of your brain. So the gland is responsible for producing two hormones. We talked about melatonin, but the other hormone it produces, and this is where the spirituality side comes in, is called DMT. Let's not even tell you what that means. It's a scientific bloody blah 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 blah. We won't even know. We won't even pretend we know what DMT means. It's one of those long scientific words. So DMT, but DMT is similar to melatonin, and they're both the melatonin and the DMT. The precursor to that is a thing called serotonin, and serotonin is that's our feel good hormone. You've heard of serotonin, that when you exercise and when you're doing all those good things for yourself, you're releasing serotonin. So serotonin is being released, and that is the precursor to the melatonin and this DMT. So it makes sense, if you're doing exercise and you're doing things you love, that you're releasing a hormone that's going to help produce melatonin, and it's going to allow you to sleep more. It makes complete sense. So serotonin is a key neurotransmitter whose conduits are involved in mood and targeted in the treatment of psychiatric disorders. Oh, here we go. DMT means N-dimethyltryptamine. There you go. See, we did find out what it meant. But this DMT, so melatonin's interesting because it helps us sleep. But this other, I'll call it a neurotransmitter, which is basically, it's getting a bit deep, but it's a neurotransmitter is just a chemical that basically talks through our brain, like our neuron. It's complicated, I won't go into it. But DMT also structurally resembles, so when we're talking about chemicals, DMT looks like other psychedelic drugs. That's where the big aha moment is for me. So your little gland is releasing something that is very similar in nature to LSD or psychedelic drugs, and is also the active agent, get this, in the ayahuasca brew that the shamans in the Amazon give us to provoke out-of-body experiences. How good is that? So when we go to do a plant medicine ceremony, which you've probably heard me talk about in other webinars about shamanism and things like that, you will talk about ayahuasca, which is a plant they find in the Native American jungle that they actually brew up and drink, and it takes you on a out-of-world experience and it sort of triggers our brain to be into like that psychedelic LSD state. So we're sensing things and seeing things that aren't in our physical realm. So this little pineal gland has releasing a hormone that's very similar to LSD. So amazing. And the pineal gland and the beauty about this is the best thing, if you get this book, there is actually a way to stimulate the pineal gland. It's really cool. So he takes you through this meditation and you do breathing. So basically, it's all linked to the chakras. So the chakras, you've got your base chakra, these are your energy centers if you're new to all this. and your chakras are lined up in the middle of your body. And if you breathe into each of your chakras, and it's all linked to your physical, this is why he's putting the science and the hormones together. So if you're breathing in and he starts off with pelvic floor breathing, which is your base chakra. So you're stimulating your base chakra, which then pushes energy up. So if you start stimulating your base, your pelvic floor, and pushing that like this, in and out, it's pushing blood flow, isn't it? Blood and energy as well. So it's like you're massaging your base chakra, but you're also massaging your muscles. So you're breathing. It teaches you the breathing. You breathe through your base chakra. Then that obviously pulsates up through your spinal fluid. So remember, this pineal gland's in your brain, which is linked to all of your spine, because our brain and our spine, obviously. So when we start, oh my God, I thought a thing came up from Joe Dispenza. That's weird. When we start activating this, it's starting pushing cerebral spinal fluid up our spine. So that goes up, it activates our base chakra. Then that comes up, which activates our sacral, activates our solar, pushes up. Then we start breathing in through our lungs, into our hearts, up to our heart, until we hit our crown chakra. And in this, it's then pushing all the spinal fluid up, the blood up, the energy up, the chakras up, to activate this pineal gland, which then stimulates the pineal gland to release these chemicals, which cause us to have these supernatural or weird and wonderful experiences, similar to what ayahuasca does. So the pineal gland has long been associated with esoteric knowledge, in meaning like spiritual knowledge, surrounding the spiritual, metaphysical aspects of consciousness and the self. Metaphysicians throughout the ages have called the pineal gland the third eye and the seat of the soul, which makes sense. It is said that all vital psychic energies are channeled from other chakras and up to the pineal gland, which is what I just said. It's all basically linked. So that comes up from the base, comes up through the spine, and it's all linked. The gland is also called the third eye because its structure, now this is really cool, its structure resembles the physiological structure of your eye. That's why it's also called our third eye, as well as obviously third eye being able to see things that we can't see in the physical world. So it has a membrane that functions as a retina, and it has fluids and also retains rods and cellular elements just as regular eyes. How cool is that, hey? Put your hand up if you think that's bloody amazing. So it's not only called our third eye because it allows us to see stuff, it physically resembles an eye. Oh my God, this stuff is just crazy. There was a philosopher who dedicated much time to the study of the pineal gland, and he called it the seat of the soul, which I mentioned before. And this is what I believe as well, he believed that it was the point of connection between the intellect and the body. It's that connector. It's the connector between our physical and the spiritual. It acts as a receiving mechanism capable of monitoring electromagnetic fields and helping align bodies in space. So it works through, well, you think about it, our neurons and our nerves are electric pulses. And when I talk about all this stuff, I'm always talking about energy, which is electric. It's electric. So it makes sense that you've got a gland that's releasing, it's very in-depth. You've got to read his book to understand. I don't want to try and pretend I know everything about it, but it makes sense that it's stimulated by electric pulse, and then it sort of connects like this. It's actually proven to connect electrically, which then allows us to connect through energy. It's amazing. It acts as a receiving mechanism capable of monitoring electromagnetic fields, I said that, and helping align bodies in space. With essential hormone melatonin, the pineal not only regulates sleep and wake cycles and the aging process, but also appears to act as the mistress gland, orchestrating the body's entire endocrine system, which is our hormone system. And as a result, and this is the last sentence that's on this page, and it's a pretty cool one, I'm going to say it out loud again. As a result, energetically speaking, the chakra system. So it is also responsible for shamanic states, visions, kundalini awakening, and prophetic dreams. How cool is that? So this little gland is responsible for all of this stuff. It's amazing. So, I mean, I could have done a whole webinar on pineal gland, but I don't think any of you guys would have watched it. You've been like, what the frick is she talking about? But now you understand why I said it was about sleep, because really the pineal gland does interact and help us sleep, but it has so much more to it. And when I get my hard copy book, I'll do another webinar and go a bit, who wants to hear some more about it? And I'll be able to give you some more specific, like scientific words and try to explain a little bit better how it does that connection between our physical and the spiritual. But believe you me, I've listened to him talk and I just had so many aha moments, especially because I have a science background. I was like, oh, wow. Oh, my God, that makes sense. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Like I've been driving. I'm like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. This is freaking amazing. This makes complete sense. Like complete sense. Also, just quickly, talking about ayahuasca and experiences like out of this world experiences, it also happened to me a couple of times now in breath work. So I've done a breath work session, a shamanic breath work session twice, and both times I've had out of body experiences where my soul has gone off. I don't know where, it's got like been everywhere, and it makes complete sense because when you're breathing, what are you doing? You're stimulating exactly what I said. You're stimulating your pelvic floor. You're stimulating your chakras. You're pushing all the blood flow up. You're pulling energy, and it's stimulating your pineal gland. But I didn't know that's what I was doing. So in my last one, because I'm getting pretty good at this breathing thing, in the last breathwork session I did, the shamanic breathwork, I, within probably 5 minutes, was gone. I was taken off into this. I came out of it. I had the most weirdest, wackiest experience of my whole entire life. I said to the girls when I finished, I was like, who needs ayahuasca? Who needs drugs when you can take yourself to these places by breathing? It's just amazing. Like, it's weird. It's so weird. You don't need drugs. You've got your breath. You can do it. So we've got beautiful Kelly who's actually taking us through a breathwork session on our soul school this week. So I can't wait to do that. It's just amazing. Ellie Burnett, this is from Joe's book. Yes, from Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you came in late. He has written a book called Becoming Supernatural. Hello, Michelle Ann. What's the book? Oh, yeah, Joe Dispenza. Yes. There we go. Louise is all over it. So anyone that's read his or knows his stuff will know that what I'm talking about is from his book. Yeah, I said it earlier. You probably just came in late. So he talks about meditating at dawn to wake up the pineal gland. Yes, exactly what I'm talking about. And she loves the dawn time. Yeah, it's just amazing. So I promise you when I get my hard copy and I've reread it, I will go back and give you some more information. So Nicole, I love science. Me too. I love science because it helps me back up what I'm saying. It's so nice to talk about all these weird and wonderful things, but when you've got a science to back it up and graphs and figures to say and names, this is a DMT, a D-trimethyl, whatever the hell it was called. Who remembers? I'll see if anyone was listening. Dimethyltryptamine, DMT. Yeah, who needs anything else? Yes, so I will study Joe's book even more. This is not my information. This is Joe Dispenza's, and I will read it again properly with my highlighter and my pen. Who highlights their books? I do get their pens out and write notes. And in the audio that I was listening to, he kept referring to graphs and things and pictures, and I was like, oh, I need the pictures. So yes, I did ask the book for my sister for my birthday, but it never arrived. Diane McKendrick, thank you very much for that. I have to order it myself. Yes, unreal stuff. Okay, so no idea what I'm going to talk about next Friday. I'll probably make up my mind at 11 o'clock of the day of, which is what I normally do. But if you have topics that you would like to hear about, please make sure that you message me and ask me. Karen, afternoon, lovely lady, afternoon. So all of these webinars that I do are now on my YouTube channel. So Michelle Ann Soul Healer is my YouTube. So you can go on at any stage and go back and watch any webinars that you may have missed. They're also all on my business page, Michelle Ann Soul Healer on Facebook. What else do I need to tell you? Oh, yeah, lastly, just about Soul School. So I am doing a program called Soul School. It's an online program and it runs for 4 weeks, and it's an intensive program where we take people through reconnecting back with themselves, reconnecting with a group of women and maybe men in the future to reconnect with their soul, find their purpose and their passion, and teach all this stuff that I know. It's the last one we run has been absolutely mind-blowing, amazing. People are having amazing results. So Soul School, the next one starts on the 18th of May. You need to talk about shamanism more. Thanks, Roxy. I have done one. I still need to learn more. I don't know that. I know stuff, but yes, I do need to talk about shamanism more. Thank you. I will do some more stuff on that. I'll dig a bit deeper into that. So Soul School starts on the 18th of May. If you would like to be part of that or would like to just know some more information, please make sure you message me. $590 it costs for the month, and you get daily content. You get a weekly call with me. You get extracurricular things like healings, remote healings, yoga, and meditations. And you get the best bit is, I think if anyone's on here that's on Soul School, is the tribe. So it's a small group, so you're not one of hundreds. You're going to get one-on-one. It's like the VIP group. So all my energy for the month goes into my Soul Schoolers. They're the ones that get the most of me, and they all support each other too, which I friggin' love. I love, love, love. So payment plans available if it's something you're interested in and you just can't afford it right at the second. Definitely contact me. We're up for payment plans. And if you're a frontline worker and this is COVID time, if you're watching this later, maybe this won't stand. But if you're a frontline worker and you're out there in the coalface doing this stuff with the coronavirus, then I'm offering $150 off for you guys because I want to thank you. And also, I do have a friend special. If you bring a friend along, if two of you want to join up, it's $100 off your ticket for one of them. So yes, why don't you and Vicky do a webinar together? Good idea, I will. Oh, I've gone over time today. I just love talking so much. Thank you for listening. Make sure you join my Soul Junkies Facebook group. Keep in contact, and we'll see all you guys later. I just want to check there's no more questions I didn't answer. People just saying hello pretty much. Yeah. Okay, cool. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.